Hi everyone. I know I feel a little fancy using this whole setup, but it's just because I'm a little nervous, so don't mind it. My name is Manvi, Pakalapati, and today I'm going to be talking about something a little more deep, so bear with me. It might be a little slow, boring at times, but it is something that's really important to me, and I think that it should be shared. In middle school, in my English classes, a lot of it was based on poetry, and I feel like as someone who truly loved English and learned the value of words early on, I found it pretty entertaining to express deep messages through this art of poetry or spoken word. So today, I want to start off by sharing a poem that I wrote when I was 13. And it's a pretty short poem that I wrote at some random midnight, and it's called I Hate the Mirror. I hate the mirror. I want to see something different, but all I see are my failures and I'm scarred all over me. I see the skin I don't fit into. I see a girl I don't recognize. I see words, insults sprawled all over this mirror. This unforgivable mirror where this girl stands, fragile to the reflection in front of her. One that will shatter into trillions of pieces with the mirror grays. The same girl I now look at every day, trying to remind her who she truly is and what she truly will be. I hate the mirror. What's beautiful about poetry is that it can carry heavy words. Words that are too powerful to simply be called words, they're truths. And for me, as a 13-year-old who is barely able to put her words together, poetry was my place of venting. And I didn't yet have it in me to speak what I was feeling, and not out loud anyways. I vividly remember writing this poem. Like I mentioned, it was some random midnight. And it was another night where I argued with my parents, actually, about my diet and about how malnutritioned I looked. I was unable to sleep that night thinking about genuinely how much I hated myself. How much I hated my reflection, specifically. How much I hated the mirror. How much that I wish it shattered and reformed who I was. But you may ask me, Manvi, you're just 13. What did you know about reflections or body image or how much you hate yourself? I mean, what was the usual 13-year-old doing? Going to the park? Video gaming? Oh, this generation, probably watching the newest TikTok trends. But that's the reason I'm here today. Because unlike my friends, at the age of 13, I was going through some of the hardest years of my life. I was struggling with my body image, I was insecure, and I was extremely self-conscious. And poetry became my mirror before I realized what the real one was even doing to me. I was 12 when I first learned that beauty wasn't something you felt. It was something you earned. Through pain, through hunger, through silence, through shame. I was called chubby, so I became smaller. And when I worked out 3 times a day, barely ate, and lost 10 kilograms in a couple months, I was now suddenly called weak, so I built a hidden armor. And for years, I called it discipline, but honestly, it was war. I called it discipline to, count my calories and quit all my favorite foods, and work out while other kids were doing kids' things. But it was a war with myself, and a war that I fought in secret. I was 12 when I realized I hated how I looked. I hated looking in the mirror and seeing my stomach poking out a little. I hated seeing my cheeks round, chubby, and full, and it covering my non-existent jawline. I hated the scale underneath me, not decreasing by the minute like I hoped it would. I hated that I didn't look like the 13-year-old girls that I was seeing on YouTube, that I didn't look like the pretty girls in movies that we all think are pretty, because beautiful women aren't called fat. Beautiful women aren't fat, and I wasn't considered beautiful. Looking back, I didn't know it then, but I was showing signs of body dysmorphia. And my disordered eating taught me how to fight in my own body. And I didn't realize it at the time, but I was kind of a soldier and a victim in my own battlefield. And I wish I could tell you that this pain was unique to just me. But it isn't, and that's the sad truth. The reality is, so many children around the world, my age, younger, even older, go through the same thing. According to the National Eating Disorder Association, 42% of girls in the 1st to 3rd grade said that they want to be thinner. I want to let that sink in for a second. 1st grade, that's like what, 5 to 6 years old? That's the age children barely know how to tie their shoelaces, let alone look in the mirror and think, damn, I'm fat, and then think that they need to lose weight. By age 13, my age, when I wrote that poem, more than half are unhappy with their body. And by age 17, that number rises to almost 80%. And it doesn't stop with girls. Did you know that in every 3 people with an eating disorder, 1 person is a male? And we rarely ever talk about it for some reason. But that's the thing. This isn't just about weight. This is more about how children see their self-worth. It's about children growing up thinking that their value is determined on how they look, let alone how they feel and what their personality is. This is about mental health. So I started asking myself, why? Why are there so many kids out there like me looking in the mirror and thinking, yeah, no, I'm not good looking, I'm not cool. But I may not be an expert. I did a lot of research though, and the UK Mental Health Foundation helped me narrow it down to 4 key forces or reasons that children or even people around the world are affected by their body image or think that they're not good looking. Number 1 is the internalization of body ideals. This is the idea that many children feel pressure to conform to a certain body type. It's this usually set in place by society. And I can give you an example of it. It's like, we hear a lot of women talking about having hourglass body or slim waist. But think about a 13-year-old girl hearing that. They don't know that they won't have that body type until they hit puberty. So imagine how that will affect them and the way that they grow up. This internalization is linked to disordered eating and depressive symptoms. Notably, 37% of young people reported feeling upset, and 31% of people reported that this is what actually makes them feel terrible about their bodies. The second influence on youth is media and social media influence. I think we know with the growing days that children have gained a lot of exposure to unrealistic body standards through things like films, televisions, magazines, advertising, and social media, significantly impacting their body image. A study found that 40% of young children, 26% of boys, and 54% of girls feel like social media is the reason that they're worrying about their body image. I myself can say I'm a victim of this. During these rough times, I'll look at women online, look at movies, and be like, why am I not like that? Be like, what's wrong with me? Like, why wasn't I born with those genes? And I'll look at these models talking about intermittent fasting or eating once in a day, and I'd be like, maybe I have to work that hard to look beautiful, because that's the reason they're considered beautiful. The third reason is parental and family impact. Believe it or not, your parents, your family, they have a major impact on how you feel about your body. Positive parental relationships can mitigate these negative body image influences. However, there's a difference between trying to keep your kid healthy and trying to keep your kid skinny and body shaming them. Studies show that weight-based teasing from family members has been linked to higher levels of body dissatisfaction and unhealthy eating behaviors. In a survey, 29% of young people, 21% of boys, and 37% of girls agreed that things their family said have caused them to worry about their body image. And last but not least, peer pressure and bullying. As children grow, peers increasingly influence their perception of this ideal body type. And this can manifest through a lot of things like direct comments, comparisons, or even projection on others to use body image as an insult. Something that might be a joke for one person will be taken personally by someone else. And in the same survey, 40% of young people, 37% of boys, and 42% of girls agree that things their friends said have caused them to worry about their body image. I've learned over time that mirrors are just glass, and glass can distort as easily as it reflects. The true reflection of the genuine image of who we are as people resides in not glass, but in our actions, in love shared and kindness given, and the moments we overcome, and especially by finding beauty in the scars we've earned. I realized that we as humans are so fixated on these reflections. Not necessarily the reflection we see, but the judgment, the perception of others, of this reflection. We look at what we see on TV, scroll through Instagram and TikTok, and we compare ourselves to the people we see on these platforms. But you see, the mirror only tells us a fraction of the truth. It doesn't reveal our battles, sometimes without scars. It can't hear the silent internal cries. It can only see the tears on our faces. Nor does it see our hidden dreams and aspirations. We tend to mistake healthy with starving ourselves, equating looking skinny with being healthy. But the true health is about nourishing our bodies, embracing our natural form, and fostering a positive relationship with ourselves and our food. So now, standing here as an almost 18-year-old who has battled through this journey, I'm here to tell 13-year-old me, and every young person out there, that the mirror isn't truly what you hate. It's the people who tell you to look at it in the first place. It's the distorted perceptions, the shaming, comments, and the societal pressures that made you believe that you weren't enough to start off with. This poem that I wrote, written by a girl still learning to love her reflection, was my first attempt at telling the truth. And this story, as I stand here today on your TEDx, I want to continue to share this story for all young kids out there in the position that I once was in. I want to continue this fight to teach young children like myself that we're much more than our physical bodies. For all the voices that feel too quiet and unheard, this is for all the children writing midnight poems like me, unable to sleep. And the only way we can do this is by fighting it together. We fight it with education, by teaching kids from the very beginning that bodies are diverse, that every body is different, and that there's no one gold standard or one size fits all for beauty. We fight it by bringing media literacy into classrooms, not just grammar and math, but about truths, about imperfections. We fight it with parental guidance, by reminding moms and dads that their words matter, just like my parents reminded me. That we don't use words like fat and skinny, and that how they speak about their own bodies echoes into their growing children's mind. That compliments shouldn't come with conditions, and that love shouldn't come with weight limits. There's a big difference between keeping children healthy and skinny. And we fight it with representation, by demanding that the media shows us the real world, not airbrushed perfections, but curves, stretch marks, soft smiles, scars, and softness. We fight it with diverse voices, diverse bodies, diverse models, diverse stories, like the one I'm sharing today, that make people feel seen instead of shamed. And we fight it with support, by making mental health not just available, but accessible, by letting every child, every teen, every person who's ever hated their reflection know that you're not alone, and that there's help, and there's for sure healing. But most importantly, we fight it with conversation, with brave, honest, sometimes messy, emotional conversations like this one. Because the more we talk, the less power that shame has over all of us. Because healing begins when silence ends. So for all of those out there fighting this battle, we fight this battle with you every single day. Through love, through action, through truth. And we fight this not just for ourselves, but for every 13-year-old out there like me, who's still learning to love the mirror. Thank you.